Today we are going to review adding fractions. So our learning target today is I can add, and we're going to call them mixed numbers, and we'll talk about that vocab word in a minute. Okay, so today we're going to be adding mixed numbers. So we've got some vocab words right here that we are going to label some of these fractions we see down here, so that when I talk about a certain type of fraction, we all know what I'm referring to. Also, like the numbers that are in a fraction, what they are called. So this first fraction we have here right now is a proper fraction. What makes it a proper fraction is that the number on top is smaller than the number on the bottom. Okay, so this fraction is less than 1. That's a proper fraction. Okay, in a proper fraction, we have a top number and a bottom number. The top number is called a numerator, and the bottom number is called a denominator. Okay, so the numerator is smaller than the denominator. Over here we have 7/3. You're going to see that it looks a little different because that number, that numerator, is larger than the denominator. So this fraction is larger than 1. So this is called an improper fraction, because the numerator is larger than the denominator. Okay, this third fraction that we have is called a mixed number. And we'll talk about why in a minute. This is a mixed number because there is a fraction that we see, 1/3. That's a fraction. And then we also have a whole number. So again, this fraction is also larger than 1. Okay, 2 and 1/3 means that we have 2 wholes and then 1/3 of another one. So if we're thinking pizza, we've got 2 whole pizzas, and then we've got 1/3 of another pizza left. Okay, and we can interchange improper fractions and mixed numbers, and we're going to work on reviewing that skill today. So making a mixed number improper. So if we get a number like this, when we are adding fractions, multiplying fractions, we want to make that an improper fraction. We want it to be one number over another number. Same with division. So we need to review that skill because we're going to need to use that later this week. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to multiply the whole number by the denominator, which is our bottom number. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's do number 1 together while we're filling in these steps. So we're going to multiply the whole number by the denominator. So we'd have 2 times 5. 2 times 5 is 10. You could show this work if you wanted to, or you could do it in your head. It's up to you, okay, because we're not finished yet, so there's multiple steps to this. So once we do 2 times 5, we have 10. And what that means is that that whole number 2 is equal to 10/5, okay, which we already know. 2 is equal to 10/5 because 10 divided by 5 is 2. Okay, so we're just making that 2 into a fraction. So 2 times 5 is 10. And then we add the numerator, that top number. Okay, so 2 times 5 is 10, so we have 10/5, which is equal to that 2. And then we have 4/5 in our fraction, so we'd add 10 plus 4 to get 14. Okay, and that 14 is going to be our new numerator, our new top number. Okay, the denominator, that bottom number, stays the same because we still have fifths. We're always talking about fifths here. Okay, so it'd be 14/5. So 2 times 5 is 10, plus 4 is 14/5. If you're feeling comfortable, pause the video, try these next couple on your own. If you want to follow along with me for another example, then try to pause that video, that's fine too. So here we'd have 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10. So our numerator would be 10, our denominator stays the same, so that would be 3. Again, if you're starting to feel comfortable, I want you to try to pause this video. Even if you don't feel comfortable, pause. It's always better to learn from a mistake than just to copy what I'm doing and not really learn anything, just kind of copy what I'm doing. So here we have 6 times 2. 6 times 2 is 12, but then we have to add in that numerator, so 12 plus 5. Again, if we don't know that, you could always pull it to the side, add them up. 12 plus 5 would be 17. Denominator stays the same, so it'd be 17/6. All right, number 4. We've got 3 times 10. 3 times 10 is 30, plus the 3 gives us 33. Denominator stays the same, tenths. Okay, so we will be using that skill for the whole entire time that we are learning fractions in 6th grade. All right, now let's review adding and subtracting fractions. Okay, to add or subtract fractions, let's remember we need that denominator to be the same number. So we call that a common denominator. They need to have the same number. Okay, so for example, in number 5, we need them both to be 3s. In number 5, they already are. But let's look at number 7. In number 7, we don't have the same number, so we'd have to multiply it in order to get it to be the same number. And like I said, we'll do examples of that. Okay, once we have a common denominator, we add the numerators together, the top numbers, and then that denominator still stays the same. Because if we're adding thirds to more thirds, we still have thirds. The pieces, like if we have a pizza and we have 1/3 plus another third of a pizza, we don't automatically have like 6. Those pizza slices don't just cut themselves. So they stay thirds. We would just have 2 of those thirds now. Okay. So here we have, well, that's basically the pizza example I just described. So we have thirds, so we'd add our numerator because they're already the same on the bottom. 2 plus 1 would give us 3. Denominator would also be 3. Okay, let's simplify that. Remember that a fraction bar is division. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. If you have 3 pieces, out of 3 pieces, you have a whole pizza, one whole pizza. Okay. When we have a mixed number, we can make it improper. Okay, so 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5. That would be 5/3. Plus 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7, 7/3. So again, we're going to add those top numbers. 5 plus 7 is 12. Thirds stay the same, 12/3. Now when we simplify that, again, we're going to use that fraction bar as division. So 12 divided by 3 equals 4. You can also think like, how many times does 3 fit into 12? Same thing over here. How many times does 3 fit into 3? Once, 4. And then sometimes we will have leftovers. Okay, let's try number 7 because number 7 doesn't have a common denominator. Okay, so we've got thirds and ninths. What I like to do is I like to try to find that smaller number. Okay, and I look at the larger number and I say, can that smaller number, that smaller denominator, multiply times something to equal the larger number? So does 3 times something equal 9? Our answer would be yes. 3 times 3 equals 9. Okay, whatever we multiply to the denominator, we also have to multiply to the numerator in order to keep the fraction the same. For example, if we have 2/2, okay, 2/2 is equal to 1. How many times is 2 fit into 2? That equals 1. Let's say I have to multiply that times 3. Okay, 2 times 3 is 6. If I didn't multiply the numerator, we'd then end up at 2/6, and 2/6 is not the same thing as 2/2, which is 1. 2/6 is smaller than 1, which is why we need to multiply both the top number and bottom number by the same thing, because 6/6, how many times does 6 fit into 6? It would be 1, so that's how they stay the same. Okay, so we'd have 3 times 3 to get that new denominator of 9, 2 times 3 to get that numerator of 6. Second fraction is already out of 9, so there's nothing we need to multiply, and we would get 5. Adding fractions, we just add our numerators, so 6 plus 5 is 11 over 9. Now we ask ourselves, how many times does 9 fit into 11? 9 fits into 11 one whole time. Okay, and 9 times 1 is 9. So here we're doing that division. How many times does 9 fit into 11? One time. 9 times 1 is 9, so we'd take away 9 from that 11, and we'd have 2 left denominator stays the same. You could also do long division. First number always goes in the box. 9 goes into 1 0 times. 9 goes into 11 once. 1 times 9 is 9. Subtract, we've got 2, and we're writing this answer as a fraction, not as a decimal. So our answer would be 1, and then 2 out of the 9 we wanted. 1 and 2 nines. Notice how those are both the same number. So if you're doing long division helps you, you can do it that way too. All right. If you would like, please pause this video. I want you to try number 8 on your own. We need to find a common denominator first, and then resume the video to check your work, or just resume it when you get stuck. All right, we're trying to find a common denominator between 3 and 6. So I look at that 6 and I say, can I make a 3 times something into a 6? Yes, I can. I would do times 2. Okay. So I would have 2 and 4, 6, because 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 2 is 6, minus 5, 6. Here I'm going to make this mixed number improper, so I would do 6 times 2 is 12, plus 4 is 16, 6, minus 5, 6. 16 minus 5, again, if I don't know that, I can always pull it to the side. I can use my fingers to count, whatever you guys need to do to get that answer of 11, 6. So subtraction is just like addition. We make it improper, common denominators, and we just subtract the numerators, leave the denominator the same. All right, now we have to do that division. Like I said, you could do that long division if that helps you. Or you can just ask yourself, how many times does 6 fit into 11? 6 fits into 11 once. If we were to take away 1 times 6, which is 6, we'd be left with 5. Okay, so we'd have 1 and 5 out of the 6 that we needed. So 1 and 5, 6 left over. All right. Again, pause the video, try to do number 9 if you haven't already. Resume the video to check. Common denominator. Can I make a 5 into a 10? Yes, I can by doing times 2. Always multiplying. So I know we could do plus 5, okay, but it should always be multiplying. That's how we keep them the same. All right, so we have 5 times 2 is 10. 2 times 2 is 4. Don't forget about our 3. Plus 1 and 5 tenths. Now that we have a common denominator, let's make those improper. 3 times 10 is 30. Plus 4 is 34. Denominator stays the same. We are adding. Always pay attention to that symbol. 1 times 10 is 10. Plus 5, 15 tenths. All right, let's add our numerators. 34 plus 15. Again, you can always pull it to the side. It's writing 13. 34 plus 15. 5 plus 4 is 9. 3 plus 1, 4. This would give us 49 tenths. Now let's simplify. So again, we could do this as long division. We'd put 49 inside. Our top number always goes inside, our first number. 10 would go outside. You'd ask yourselves, how many times does 10 fit into 49? 10 can fit into 49 4 whole times, because it wouldn't fit into 4. It would fit into 49 4 times. 10 times 4 is 40. So we'd take away the 40 that we're making into that 4. You'd be left with 9. So it'd be 4 and 9 left over out of the 10 that we needed. Okay. All right, so main takeaways, if we have to write that summary, just a couple quick sentences. Main takeaways, we need a common denominator. We need to know how to make mixed numbers improper. We need to talk about how we only add or subtract those numerators and we keep the denominator the same. And then how we do division to simplify it towards the end.